Hello and welcome to this IChemE Global Awards webinar. My name is Matt Stalker and I'm your host for today's presentations. The IChemE Global Awards celebrate chemical, process and biochemical engineering excellence and are widely recognised as the world's most prestigious chemical engineering awards. Today we'll be announcing the winners of the IChemE 2020 Public Engagement Award and the IChemE 2020 Diversity and Inclusion Award. The winners of both prizes also qualify as finalists for our top honour, the Outstanding Achievement in Chemical and Process Engineering Award. We're also live tweeting throughout all of our award webinars. You can get involved using the hashtag IChemE Awards. So let's get started with the IChemE 2020 Public Engagement Award, sponsored by the Chemical Engineer. This category recognises the organisational group that best demonstrates outstanding public engagement activity, highlighting the contribution of chemical engineering and its benefit to society. Here are our finalists. We have a joint entry from Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia, King Mongkut University, Telkom University, Utah, Uniten, and the University of Nottingham, Malaysia. Another joint entry from the universities of Leeds, Lancaster, Loughborough, Birmingham, Bristol, Manchester, Sheffield, Strathclyde and Surrey, UCL, Imperial College London, the National Nuclear Laboratory, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority and Sellafield Limited, and finally the University of Strathclyde. All our finalists have been invited to join us today to give a short presentation on their work, and subject to time, we'll be inviting you to participate in Q&A at the end of each presentation. You can ask your questions via the questions box on the GoToWebinar portal. Unfortunately, representatives from Heriot-Watt Malaysia cannot be with us today, but they have submitted a short video showcasing their work. Let's take a look.
Hello, welcome to the IChemE Global Awards 2020 Public Engagement Webinar. My name is Dr. Norius Mirza Yusof from Heriot-Watt University, Malaysia. The title of my presentation is Biogas and Green Fertilizer for Indigenous Communities in Bintulu Division. Before we begin, I would like to introduce my project collaborators and partners. Dr. Tapan Kumar of University of Nottingham, Malaysia. Professor Abdul Halim Shamsuddin of University Tenaga Nasional or Uniten. Professor Chan Tarapon Palkon Kulut of King Mongkut University. Dr. Ng Chung Aun of Utah or University Tunku Abdul Rahman. And lastly, Dr. Yuda Pramyudia of Telkom University. This project aimed at conducting a feasibility study on generation of biogas and green fertilizer from organic waste and their potential utilizations by indigenous communities living around Bintulu, Sarawak, Malaysia. Social, economic, environmental and technical aspects related to the project were discussed in a feasibility report. Our project is nicely aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We would like to improve the health and well-being of women and children, allow communities to be resilient and sustainable, ensure equality in energy distribution among urban and rural areas. The main output from this project is a feasibility report, which contains a mixture of official and online survey data on the amount and types of organic waste available in areas within and surrounding the remote villages in Bintulu Division. The availability of the data is important as we can infer how much biogas can be potentially produced by the rural communities and/or the areas surrounding their villages. In this work, we managed to survey 60 villages with a total population of 7,352 people. We were also interested with the locations of these villages to visualize how far they are from the nearest cities. Another output is an interactive Google map with link available in the description below. The map shows locations and directions of relevant district offices in Bintulu Division, some of the villages that we surveyed via online questionnaire, and livestock farms. Bintulu is the 5th largest division in Sarawak, with a growing population of over 200,000 people and a total area of 12,166 square kilometers. It is known with its active industrial activities due to the availability of fossil fuel, especially natural gas. This had contributed to the fast urbanization of Bintulu and increment of population from 194,200 in the year 2000 to 220,048 in the year 2010. Half, or about 48% of Bintulu population are indigenous communities, and parts of them are still living with electricity supply with only a few hours a day, especially in Tatau and Sabah districts. The only viable option they had was to rely on diesel fuel to electrify their houses, schools, and other amenities, especially the one lives in the rural parts of Tatau and Sabah districts. For instance, it was reported that rural schools in Bintulu division were depending on diesel-powered generators for their electricity supply and had to ration their diesel supply to avoid getting into darkness. Based on information provided by district officers in Tatau and Sabah, we contacted several village heads and ran online survey or questionnaire. We received replies from 60 village heads representing 47 villages in Tatau district and 13 villages in Sabah district. Some of the villages could be pinpointed on Google Maps based on the geolocations provided in the survey. The farthest village, Umar Nyabeth, is located near Belaga. It is about 176 km away from Tatau city. This Kenya community longhouse consisted of 38 homes with a total population of 390, the highest population among all villages in Tatau district. Biogas is a clean energy when it comes to heating or cooking. It has the potential to replace the usage of firewood and common cooking gas, namely liquefied petroleum gas or LPG, which could be expensive for rural communities. In fact, usage of firewood for cooking will deteriorate the health and welfare of these communities, especially women, which normally spend long hours doing the house chores. Research showed biogas application avoid women from depending on firewood for cooking, which is known to produce hazardous smoke. This has an adverse effect on the children's health and academic performance when they were often tasked to aid their mothers preparing food for the family. Research conducted in Southeast India also demonstrated that households using biogas diversify their diet and thus improve the nutrient intake of the family members. This was because the women in the affected communities were able to spend on average 40 minutes less for cooking and 70 minutes less for collecting firewood per day. However, we could not verify these facts for the Bintulu case due to movement restriction imposed by the government. A total of 30 out of 60 villages that we surveyed had no access to 24 hours electricity. Most of them depended on diesel. One village is still dependent on kerosene for lighting and cooking. The weekly cost of diesel vary with the highest at 250 ringgit and the lowest 25 ringgit. The cost of diesel depends largely on its utilization and the size of the generator sets. For example, the highest weekly diesel cost was due to electricity generation for about 6 hours per night. We would like to thank Bintulu Residence Office for approving this work and Sarawak government agencies, namely Department of Agriculture, Department of Veterinary Services, District Officers of Sabah and Tatau for their cooperation and sharing relevant data. Special thanks to Jerosen Jubin, a community leader of Tatau District, and Baiti Tini Nike, an officer at Sabah District Office, for helping us with the distribution of online survey to the heads of villages located in Sabah and Tatau districts. Lastly, we appreciate the help of Mr. Elias Budiman Rahmat, a senior laboratory technician of Herod University Malaysia, in modifying a 1,000-litre IBC tank into a biogas digester. If you require more information, please contact me, Dr. Norius Mirza Yusof, at the following address, or email me at n.yusof@hw.ac.uk, or call me at the following telephone numbers.
Okay, that was a pre-recorded presentation, so no Q&A on this one, I'm afraid. But our next presenter is with us live, representing that enormous joint entry I told you about a few moments ago. Please welcome Michael Fairweather.
Okay, morning everybody. As was said, my name's Mike Fairweather. I was principal investigator of the distinctive consortium, which is an acronym of decommissioning, immobilization and storage solutions for nuclear waste inventories. And in this presentation, I just want to give you a brief overview of the project and the public engagement activities we undertook. Start off with acknowledgements first to Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, who sponsored the research as part of the Research Council's UK Energy Programme, and also to acknowledge funding from our key project partners, the National Nuclear Laboratory, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, and Sellafield Limited. Again, by way of background, the project started in 2014, initially running for 4 years, although a no-cost extension was granted to 2019, basically due to difficulty in accessing some facilities, particularly to undertake active work. In terms of budget, there's about £5 million available from the EPSRC, and with university contributions and 2 million contribution from industry, that took us to about £8.2 million in total for the project. So as a research project, it was fairly large. We had a world-class university network of 11 universities with track record in undertaking nuclear-related research, and of course our 3 project partners, NNL, NDA, and Sellafield Limited. So what were the aims and objectives? Well, again, by way of background, UK government recognises decommissioning of legacy nuclear facilities as a national priority, and key enablers in that are really innovative R&D to bring new solutions to old problems and skills development. And the overall strategy is to reduce the cost of decommissioning by 20%, and also ensure there's a joined up approach to R&D across all those involved. And the research should be of benefit to the economy and should help establish UK industry as a leader in waste management and decommissioning. But importantly, if we're going to get public acceptance of that strategy, then we need to demonstrate an ability to safely manage and dispose of the nuclear waste. So really the strategic aims of the consortium were to carry out internationally leading research, because of course this is an EPSRC project, but we also wanted to support research that provided routes to innovative technology developments that could be rolled out on site. We wanted to foster and develop new multidisciplinary research partnerships between academic and industry researchers, and through the sorts of meetings we held, annual and theme meetings, we managed to have a total of 43 companies involved in the project. Given the demographic in the nuclear industry, it was also felt important to train the next generation of researchers with relevant skills and experiences, particularly in using active materials, and also provide a focal point for government, industry and academics to discuss the issues. And certainly, last but not least, in terms of this particular award, provide a route for public understanding of underlying R&D needs, opportunities and solutions. So clearly I don't have time to go through all the projects that were part of the consortium, but this is just a schematic that gives you an overview of the sorts of areas we worked in. So looking at waste in ponds and silos created on reactor sites or any radioactive plant, We looked at processing that waste in treatment facilities through to interim safe storage. We looked at different types of waste forms, packaging of the waste forms. We looked at disposal in long-term geological disposal facilities, and also the structural integrity of the associated infrastructure, as well as environmental impact. There were 4 basic technical themes that are up there in the top left-hand side of the slide. So AGR, magnets and exotic spent fuels, plutonium oxide and fuel residues, legacy ponds and silo waste, and structural integrity. Overall, there were 48 core projects made up of 10 research fellows and 38 PhD researchers. Although we did have funds to associate other researchers and other academics, which also contributed to the project. In terms of public engagement, we wanted to maximize the engagement activities, and activities were pursued which then directly engaged with the public and which indirectly affected members of the public. So at one level, government, regulator and implementation authority policy was influenced through researchers attending things like the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Nuclear Energy. And we also had researchers as members of the Radioactive Waste Management Working Group, the Royal Society of Edinburgh Energy Inquiry, and also in one case as a special advisor to the House of Lords Science and Technology Committee, who were investigating nuclear R&D. We widened that impact through researchers being members of foreign and Commonwealth Office delegations to the US and Japan, and researchers also gave evidence to the US Nuclear Waste Technical Review Board. In terms of more direct interactions with the public, we engaged with society and stakeholders groups over a number of days via the Bristol European Green Capital Programme, where we looked at public perceptions of radioactivity, and at the International Festival of Glass over a bank holiday weekend, which had a huge footfall, and through U3A, that's University of the Third Age STEM networks meetings, as well as in various talks given directly to the members of the public. We also developed a stakeholder engagement exercise. That was a social platform basically to help people combine insights to find solutions to complex problems, and in this case, nuclear waste cleanup. And that engaged across the board from members of the public through to experts in the area. We had dedicated websites and uploaded material on social media, and researchers provided content to all broadcast media. And we also had a very successful researcher training event in public engagement and media training over a summer school. There are also broader impacts. So everything we did is not only relevant to legacy waste, but also to nuclear build, and hence to the provision of clean, safe and secure energy for the future. And the results therefore contributed to efficient and more effective processing nuclear waste, and hence contributed to the European Green Deal and UN sustainability goals. The UK government nuclear sector deal also provides a basis for UK companies to exploit related R&D, and certainly the project fed people and understanding to those companies with economic and benefits and also job opportunities. The benefits of the project results should be felt across the UK, but particularly in West Cumbria, where Sellafield is situated. And Sellafield Limited's involvement was key in meeting social responsibility obligations of the NDA. And as I mentioned, the engagement activities that we pursued with the public address public perceptions of risks and its role as a clean and secure energy supply, and in particular its impact on the environment, and hopefully that helped nuclear energy be more acceptable to members of the public. All those activities also raised awareness of the contribution of STEM to society and the role that chemical engineering and nuclear engineering have in addressing challenges facing us at the present time. And really, the UK public will also benefit through an increased ability to deal with these issues, reducing the financial burden on the taxpayer and also reducing the potential for industrial accidents. So overall, the impacts really should ultimately save the taxpayer money by making decommissioning and waste processing faster, cheaper and safer. That's all I really want to say. I'll leave you with a few pictures of various activities we were involved in, but I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. We'll pause for questions then, and if you have got a question, please type it into the questions box on the GoToWebinar portal. While I give you a moment on that, don't forget, if you've joined us for the Diversity and Inclusion Award presentation, that will be up in just a few minutes. And while we wait for questions, if you have enjoyed or are enjoying this session, don't forget we've got a series of IChemE Global Award webinars taking place throughout November. There's still plenty more to come. And if you'd like to know what's still to come, visit icheme.org/global awards. That's icheme.org/global awards. Right, Mike, we don't appear to have any questions, so thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
We will move on to our third finalist, representing the University of Strathclyde. Please welcome Sylvia Battock and Joy Leckie.
Hello, I'm just letting you record my screen. Hello, I'm just trying to share my screen. Can you see my screen at the moment?
Not yet. We can see Joy. We can't see you, Sylvia, or your screen at the moment.
Okay.
There should have been a
Sorry,
button
1 second.
here on the screen to ask inviting you to share your screen. If you just click on that, that should do the trick.
Ah, share my webcam. Sorry, I don't see it.
That's okay. My colleague Mary Claire is with me in the background. Mary Claire, if you can just resend the share screen option over to Sylvia.
Yeah, maybe present Sylvia. You should be able to see under the show arrow an option to share screen. Down box. You see that?
Yes, I think.
The a round circle with an arrow in it, and it says show, and underneath that there's a drop down box. You should be able to share your screen from there.
Share my webcam. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
Okay, I'll take you off. I'll just bear with me. Let me try something.
Ah, okay. Oh, can you see that now?
Yeah, that's perfect. We can see your
Brilliant.
screen now. No cameras now, but we can see the screen.
Okay, great, thank you. Share my webcam. Let me share my webcam. 1 second. Okay, I don't know if I can get that working. Okay, hello everyone, thank you. This is a presentation on our entry to the IChemE Public Engagement Award. We are from the Faculty of Engineering, from Chemical and Process Engineering at the University of Strathclyde. And our entry is for our outreach group, our dedicated outreach group for the department, which is ReallySmallScience and Young Chemical Ambassador are our two main projects from the outreach group. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them, and Joy is going to finish the presentation for us. So I'm going to start off with talking about the outreach group aims. The outreach group is our dedicated public engagement and outreach group for the department, and our aims are to engage a wide public audience with the latest research and the fundamentals of chemical engineering. And when we engage an audience with departmental research, it's current research which professors and undergraduates and postgraduate students are doing in the department, and we want to engage this research with the general public. Our focus of engagement is towards children from areas of multiple deprivation in and around Glasgow, but also across Scotland, with an aim of raising aspirations and promoting careers in research and engineering. We focus on low progression schools and areas that are local to us in around the Glasgow area. We aim to create long-term engagement with schools and pupils, to increase the science capital to our communities and to promote careers. We develop hands-on, exciting and inspiring workshops. We aim to teach chemical engineering in ways that are innovative and fun and interesting. And finally, we train researchers and students in public engagement skills, which we hope to enhance the careers base of our engineers. And our outreach group has two main programs. We have the ReallySmallScience outreach program, and we have Young Chemical Ambassador. ReallySmallScience is a 7-year ongoing program of activities to science festivals, science centres and community events, and the Young Chemical Ambassador program is a mentoring scheme in which secondary school pupils are paired with PhD researchers for research projects. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about ReallySmallScience first. It was started in 2013, initially as a one-off event where researchers from our department developed activities based on their research, and it was a one-off event at the Glasgow Science Centre. But since then, we've grown into a year-round ongoing self-sustained program of events. We go to primary schools and secondary schools where we deliver workshops and we deliver careers advice. We visit nurseries, science centres, we have holiday clubs, when we go to community events, festivals and international engagement. So the aim of our group is to engage the public with chemical engineering. All of our workshops and activities are based on Strathclyde chemical engineering research. Our outreach group was even awarded the highly commended IChemE award in 2015, but since then we have grown our reach in lots of different ways, and we've even created new projects which further our outreach and public engagement. So some of our activities, as I said, all of our activities are based around the research which is taking part in the department. So this is current chemical engineering research. So for example, our nano jelly activity, this is based off gels and materials research. A lot of our activities have a theme of nanoscience and nanotechnology, as well as material science and materials physics science. A lot of our aim is to teach about nanomaterials, which is something that especially children might not understand, and we have innovative and exciting ways to show the type of research that we do in the department. So for example, our nano dirt activity, we use activated carbon to clean dirty water, and we use this to explain absorption research and water treatment. Our Sludgy Stuff Roadshow is a series of sludge-related research activities which focuses on material science and the research into non-Newtonian fluids, which was going on in the department at the time. So the Really Small Science team is mainly people from the Chemical and Process Engineering department, but it has also included people from across the university and the engineering faculty. We're made up mainly of volunteers who come from our department. The team is headed by Dr. Mark Hoare and Dr. Joy Leckie, who started the group in 2013. And myself, I am the outreach assistant. A few years ago, we realized that we need a full-time member of staff to manage the outreach group. So then the volunteers are made up of undergraduate students, postgraduate students, and staff, mainly again from the chemical engineering department. All of our volunteers are trained in public engagement and in all of our activities. We have safeguarding checks, such as basic background checks for all of our schools visits, and all of our PhD students can actually earn credits towards the degree for their for the number of hours they put into their volunteering for this. The Really Small Science team would not be possible without our really hardworking and enthusiastic volunteers. So I'd really like to thank them. So a little bit about the reach of Really Small Science. As I said, it was initially a one-off, one-day event that happened in 2013. But since then, in the past 7 years, we have built up to a self-sustained program of year-round events. We sustain the costs of our events by sometimes charging a small donation for some of the places that we visit, and this is enough to sustain us for materials and transport costs. We reach an audience of around 4,500 people per year. We visit over 20 schools per year, and we focus our schools program to areas of multiple deprivation and schools with a low progression to higher education. And in total, over the past 7 years, we have interacted with a total audience of 27,000 people. We've also had some international reach. A PhD student from our department ran some of the Really Small Science workshops in Barranquilla in Colombia, and volunteers were even trained to adapt and run these workshops. And Really Small Science was the starting point for Professor Ullin when he moved to a new research center in New York, and used our nano jelly activity as the basis for a Science of Jello activity, which included an interactive workshop at the World Science Festival in 2015. And finally, over the past few months since the COVID lockdown, we have unfortunately not been able to visit schools or continue our regular program of events. So instead, we have been focusing to online events. So we have created 2 YouTube videos which explain our activities in a fun and interesting way for pupils and schools and families to try at home. These include animations and ways that you can try our experiments at home. We also have 4 worksheets that can be used, and we have used these activities in 5 international online science festivals, and we hope to include more of these as we go on. I'm now going to pass over to Joy, and she can tell you a little bit about the Young Chemical Ambassador Programme.
Thank you, Sylvia. So as Sylvia mentioned, I'm Dr. Joy Leckie, and I was part of the team that started the Really Small Science outreach group back in 2013 when I was still a PhD student. And now, thanks to Sylvia, we have lots of different activities and workshops that we can deliver to schools and different science festivals all across the UK and worldwide. So I'm going to tell you a bit about our Young Chemical Ambassador Programme. So compared to the Really Small Science Programme, it's more of a long-term project where we work with pupils in schools for a number of months, from about October through to May. So most of the school year we work with the same group of pupils, and this programme has been supported by the Royal Academy of Engineering for a number of years, and the Royal Society of Chemistry as well. We've been running this programme annually since 2016, with 131 pupils having taken part, and these are the pupils that we've actually trained to be ambassadors, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a second. And so the approach we have is sort of a kind of pyramid type programme where we train a small number of pupils to then go on and be ambassadors, to then deliver activities and promote chemical engineering to their peers and other young people. So they then go on to do the engagement for us. And all the while they're mentored by our PhD students who are all chemical engineers at the University of Strathclyde. And that also provides the mentors and the chemical engineers in our department with really great communication skills, and they now know how to communicate and engage people with their research projects as well. Okay, next slide please, Sylvia. So our chemical engineering ambassador programme works mostly with local schools around Glasgow. We have also worked with a school through in Edinburgh city centre, and this year we've worked with a school in Falkirk as we paired with Forth Valley College, just to show different routes to chemical engineering. It's not just you have to go to university to become a chemical engineer. We focus on recruiting pupils who may not be achieving top grades, so we ask schools to nominate pupils that may benefit most from the programme to boost their confidence and reach their potential that they can achieve. We work with schools from areas of multiple deprivation, and we also have a programme with Dr. Jane Essex in the Education Department at Strathclyde, where we engage with pupils from additional support needs schools, and we aim to have a very diverse group of ambassadors. We also ask teachers to nominate teams of kind of gender balanced teams, so we're promoting engineering not just to males but also females, and we have lots of female engineering mentors as well. Our mentors are all trained to engage with pupils, so we put on some training for them, and that also helps their confidence and their communication skills as engineers, and it helps them to further their PhD. So the pupils come to Strathclyde on campus for a 3-day masterclass, and we do lots of hands-on activities with them in the lab. We give them some career advice, so actually our mentors tell them about their journeys from school to where they are now, and everyone has a completely different journey. A lot of our mentors are international students from all across the world, so it's really interesting to see how different people have ended up doing chemical engineering. We then do some presentation skills workshops, and that really helps the pupils to then gain confidence in how to communicate to other people as well, and they get some benefit from being on campus. Maybe it might not be so daunting for them to think of going to higher education after school, and so we take them on lots of tours and get them familiar with what university life might be like. Okay, next slide please. So after the masterclass, our pupils then go back to school with little mini research projects based around real research that we're doing within the Department of Chemical Engineering. And their mentors then go and visit them a number of times, help them with their with their activities, and put together presentations based on their research. And they then present what they've found and their learning to the rest of their class, also younger pupils, and those from local primary schools. So we have primary 6 and 7 classes taking part in these activities as a sort of transition to high school. So it's very much a kind of pyramid-based programme. We're now in our 4th year of the Young Chemical Ambassador programme, and we've built lots of relationships with many local schools. Some have taken part each year since we've started. So we get to find out about the pupils that have taken part in the programme before and see how they've gone on to study chemistry and physics. And the little graph at the bottom there kind of shows where we get the ambassadors or the pupils to rate themselves on their kind of level of confidence. So we ask them at the beginning of the programme. Many of them are very shy, so you can see there it's reflected in their self confidence ratings. And then after they have completed the presentation skills workshop, you can see that their confidence increases a lot more, and then after they've actually delivered their presentation, you can see it's almost doubled their confidence, and that's them feeling a lot more confident that they can then present some kind of complex chemical engineering research to their peers. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so that's our two programs, and I would also like to thank Sylvia for coordinating all of these activities, going out to lots of schools and now going online for COVID. And also, without all of our volunteers, which are pictured here looking happy at lots of different events, without them we wouldn't be able to run these programs. So I'd like to thank everyone who's taken part in the program so far, and there'll be many more to come. So that's all we have today, but if you have any questions, we'd be welcome to take those now.
Thank you very much, Sylvia and Joy. So if you do have any questions, now is the time to type them into the questions box on the GoToWebinar portal. We do have a first question already. Are there any plans to spread the work you're doing outside of Scotland, perhaps with the help of the Royal Academy of Engineering?
Sylvia, would you like me to take that one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we have plans to work with Future Pack, which is based, where's that again, Sylvia?
York.
York, yeah. So we do have plans to do our Young Chemical Ambassador program in different areas, and now that we're more familiar with kind of online techniques, we could probably reach further with that as well. So yeah, we do have lots of plans and lots of funding proposals in the pipeline at the moment. So thanks for that question.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The work you all do is fantastic, but what do you think is the most important thing for such outreach programs to concentrate on?
Well, for us, we work with pupils from very deprived areas sometimes, so the most important thing for us is to just show a real life chemical engineer. A lot of these people maybe don't know anyone that is an engineer, they don't have that role model, and for them to actually meet face to face with someone that does chemical engineering in real life, that can really make a big difference, because we're at Strathclyde, we're all about kind of being inclusive, socially progressive, and if we can show those opportunities to young people, then that kind of leads to the future generation of engineers and scientists in our local area. So that's our most important aim, and particularly as a female, I like to kind of encourage females to think of chemical engineering as a career that you can go into.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all of the questions answered. So thank you for your presentation, and it's time to move on.
Thank you.
It's now time for what everybody's been waiting for. It's my pleasure to announce the award winner. So first we have our highly commended entry, and that is the joint entry from the University of Leeds, Lancaster, Loughborough, Birmingham, Bristol, Manchester, Sheffield, Strathclyde, and Surrey, UCL, Imperial College London, the National Nuclear Laboratory, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, and Sellafield Limited. I hope I got everybody there. Well done to everybody associated with that project. But now for the winner. So ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the IChemE 2020 Public Engagement Award, sponsored by the chemical engineer, is the University of Strathclyde. So well done to everyone involved with that project and that work. Congratulations to Sylvia and Joy. We can get you back on the line again. How does it feel to be an IChemE Award winner?
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's honestly such an honor to be awarded this. Yeah, we've been working doing public engagement for many years on our outreach project, so it's really great to be recognised.
Yep, and we'll definitely be sharing this with all of our volunteers. Probably have some sort of Zoom catch up with them to celebrate.
Celebration.
Yeah.
Well, look, well done, and congratulations once again then to the University of Strathclyde, winners of the IChemE 2020 Public Engagement Award. Now, today we're presenting not just one, but two awards, and it is time to move on now to the IChemE Diversity and Inclusion Award, sponsored by the chemical engineer. This award recognises the organisational group that best demonstrates a commitment to promoting or improving diversity and inclusion within its workforce, sector or business practices. Here are our finalists. We have the Centre for Process Innovation, ExxonMobil Fawley, Johnson Matthey, Saudi Aramco, and WSP. Once again, all of our finalists have been invited to join us today and tell us more about their work. And I'm pleased to say that 3 of our 5 finalists are able to join us. Unfortunately, ExxonMobil and Saudi Aramco are unable to be with us today. But first, we have a pre-recorded video from the CPI.
Is everyone ready for the meeting?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Ready.
Ready.
Of course. Definitely.
Great. We have been shortlisted for the IChemE Diversity and Inclusion Global Award and for the Team Global Award.
Oh, why? What did we do?
We're so diverse.
I'm from Taipo, Hong Kong.
Madagascar.
Jamaica.
Xi'an, China.
Middlesbrough, the nice part.
And inclusive.
I created a mentoring scheme for new starters.
I joined the mentor scheme.
I did a lunch and learn event to teach people about different religion.
I went to the lunch and learn and ate the food.
I helped develop that radio network for people who are hard of hearing, like me.
And I grew a beard.
And we are a team.
You on mute.
You added a background. That's a filter.
Never mind. Anyway, we have to make a video.
Can we do a pass the pen video?
Guys, remember we also do scale up on new processes and technologies.
Across all process industries.
We help small and large companies.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Can we give some specific examples?
We helped a customer scale up a novel recycling technology.
And it helped them secure millions of pounds of investments.
We're developing a process. COVID-19 vaccine.
We help customers produce new and novel products.
We developed a scalable graphene oxide purification process.
We've helped loads of SMEs with process and technology developments.
And large companies as well.
Excellent. Anything else?
How about how supportive our management are?
Great suggestion.
To always support our ideas.
Great suggestion, Min.
Oh, sorry, my computer cut out.
Great suggestion. Oh, great suggestion, Libby.
I think we should definitely talk about safety now.
You're always talking about safety.
Libby, have you done a risk assessment for that activity? Is that tower safe? Is it HSE compliant?
What?
George, let me check. Does that bird length meet the World Health Organization guidelines? Our team does lead the process and chemical safety for the whole business unit.
And because our work is so varied, it covers almost all process industries.
and you're good at sharing knowledge and best practice.
So safety is a key consideration in all of our projects.
I think it helps that management focuses on opening doors for the team. In fact, our team works more like a family than a team.
Maybe we should include our family to show how close we are. The Windows wall is just saying no.
Do you know, I think we should talk about me being a lower limb amputee and the time I won a silver medal at the Paraclimbing World Championships.
What's that got to do with our team?
Absolutely nothing. I just want to get it onto the video.
I understand.
Exactly.
I totally agree. Mum, why are you wearing my medals?
I think the key message is that we're a diverse team, work really well together.
On complex projects across a range of industries.
Thanks, everyone. Now let's do that awkward goodbye that happens at the end of every Teams meeting.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi guys, great meeting.
Okay then, I enjoyed that. I hadn't seen that before. That was the first time for all of us seeing that. Very good. I'm pleased to report that Kin On Ho is off his skates and is with us on the line. So if anybody has got any questions about that video or the work undertaken by the CPI, now is the time to ask it. We'll pause for a moment. Questions into the questions box again, please. And whilst we wait for questions, if you've been suitably inspired to submit your own entry to next year's IChemE Global Awards, keep an eye on our website for entry information. We typically open for entries at the start of March each year, so expect something similar again in March. It's www.icheme.org/global awards. We don't seem to have got any questions. I think everybody has been wowed by your video editing skills as well as your technical prowess. So we're going to move on. And next up, representing Johnson Matthey, please welcome Helen Hill.
Hello. Okay, so thank you for joining these awards today and taking the time to listen to all the entries. My name's Helen Hill. I'm an engineering manager with Johnson Matthey at the Teesside site in the UK. If you're not sure where Teesside is, it's between York and Newcastle in northeast England. Johnson Matthey's Teesside site is made up of 3 sites, and we also have multiple businesses and functions on one site, so it's quite a complex site. I'm also the chair of Network Teesside. We are an employee resource group, and our vision is the removal of barriers to gender equality for the benefit of everybody at Johnson Matthey. Throughout this presentation, then I'll be referring to Johnson Matthey as JM, as this is the abbreviation we use within our company and also with our customers. At JM, our vision is for a world that's cleaner and healthier today and for future generations. We're a global leader in sustainable technologies, and that is in a range of industries from automotive and pharmaceutical through to chemical production. We work with our customers to solve their complex problems. One of JM's Sustainability 2025 goals is to ensure that JM is a truly inclusive organisation. that fosters employee engagement and development within a diverse and global workforce. It's important to have diversity of thought, experience and perspective when we're working in an innovative environment. If we can create a diverse culture and inclusive culture within JM, then this naturally spreads to the local community, and therefore we're benefiting business and we're benefiting the local community. So you might be asking yourself, how does Network Teesside fit into the whole of JM? Well, hopefully this pyramid shows you that. So on the left-hand side, we have the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force at the top, and then underneath that, we have employee resource groups that are organised at a global level. And then underneath that, some sites have employee resource groups. And then under that is everybody that works for the JM business. What's important in this pyramid is it shows how everything fits together and how the business D&I goals are filtered down through to everybody that works for the business. But this is a dynamic relationship where we share our activities and we communicate with the global ERGs and the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force. So far, I've talked a lot about JM as a business and why we see that diversity and inclusion is important to the business. But I think it's also important to look at the personal side. This is what this slide's all about. Obviously, there's too much on here to talk about today, but I wanted to pick out 3 things that are important to me. First of all, true D&I, not just women, a place to start. There's a lot of the barriers to gender equality, which are also barriers to racial, sexual and disability equality. If us as a team at Network Teesside and the Gender Equality Network can work together to overcome these barriers, then we're also helping a wider group. Secondly, there's role models. These are important, as people have already talked about today, to inspire everyone to become the best of themselves and to have whatever career they would like to have. Other people have been role models for me, and I would like to do the same for them. And finally, to me, what's important about employee resource groups is we provide support and we provide a focal point for discussing issues with the business and working with the JM business to make JM a better place for everybody to work. So now I want to tell you more about Network Teesside. What is really important is that we're an employee resource group for everybody and not just for women. We want to improve the culture at JM for everybody. We want to improve the business for JM, and we want to, further along the line in our work, we want to improve the situation for the local community as well. Our vision is the removal of barriers to gender equality in the workplace to the benefit of all JM. So we have to look at what we can control. So we start within JM and then we look at the wider workplace and then we look at the community. We've asked ourselves, how can we ensure that a woman's career depends on her capability, contribution and aspiration? So it's not about positive discrimination. It's not about somebody deciding, oh, she doesn't want to go and do that because she's a woman. Obviously, this is such a big topic that we needed to narrow it down. So what we did here was a group of us that are called the core team. who are passionate about gender equality. We had a workshop where we talked about the status quo within JM, looking at gender equality, and we narrowed down the different issues into 3 key areas, which you can see here. So we want to look at how we develop a mentoring program, how do we make JM a place that develops and retains female talent, and how do we address unconscious bias in recruitment and retention. An output from this workshop is this roadmap that you can see here. It's quite a busy slide, but I'll take you through and then you can see how everything fits together. So I've already talked about our vision, and that's on the right-hand side. As with everything, we should always look at why we need an employee resource group to break down the barriers to gender equality. And what's the point of doing this? So that's at the top. We want to build a more inclusive JM. What are we going to do about it? So that's the 3 areas that we're concentrating along the top. And then how are we going to do it? Network Teesside was formed at the end of 2018. During 2019 and at the start of 2020, we held a number of events. And since the lockdown started in March, then we've become virtual. So taking you through some of the events that we've achieved and what we've got planned in the different pillars. So looking at mentoring. One thing I would like to highlight here is we delivered a self-development series to a virtual audience. This was looking at different themes to help people to develop their careers. So looking at soft skills, one example was a session all about stop apologising. So this isn't stopping apologising completely, this is making sure that you don't overdo it. And these events were open to everybody. They were done in small groups so we could facilitate discussion. One exciting thing that we've got planned for next month is JM are organising a Global Careers Week, and we're going to work with the business to share the mentoring resources and share the benefits of mentoring. Looking at talent development and retention, one thing that we did throughout 2019 was sharing role models and encouraging senior female leaders to share their career journeys. What we've got planned in this area is working with the JM business to summarise the flexible working policies and work to deliver a pilot of training for line managers, because it's all very well having these flexible working policies, but if the line managers aren't aware of good practice and ways of how to work with these policies, then it's not going to be very effective. Finally, looking at unconscious bias. We've had a lot of success in this area. Obviously, there's a lot of different training available around unconscious bias, and there's different ways of doing it. Sometimes it's called unconscious bias, sometimes it's called conscious inclusion. This is one of the areas that the JM D&I task force is concentrating on, and we're supporting this. So training is being rolled out across Johnson Matthey to make people aware of potential unconscious bias that they have and the impact this can have. Plans for the future in this area, we're working with the talent acquisition part of our HR organisation to identify the main challenges to gender equality in recruitment and how we could work together to overcome these. An area that isn't actually named on the slide but is very important to us is data. Within Network Teesside, then we want to show what our impact is. It's very early on our journey. We've only been formed, say, coming up for 2 years, but we need to be able to show, and we want to be able to show our impact and how effective we've been. So we do this by keeping a record of how many people attend our events and how many people are active on our Yammer page. We've also been looking at the IChemE, the Royal Society of Chemistry and the Royal Academy of Engineering data to see if we can use that to identify where there are fewer females and see whether how Johnson Matthey compares to the wider world. We've also been discussing data with our HR department and the different departments to see where the gaps are and what we should concentrate on. Finally, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to you for listening. Thank you to the core team. We have a lot of fantastic, enthusiastic volunteers that give up the time to identify where the barriers to gender equality are and to increase awareness of issues and basically to get the conversation going. If you'd like to find out more about Network Teesside, then I'm happy for my email address to be shared, and you could get in contact and we can share where our success is. So if anybody has any questions, then I will be happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you very much, Helen. So we'll pause for a moment and let you type your questions into the questions box on the GoToWebinar portal. We do have a first question. Does JM have a diverse senior executive leadership team?
Yes, we do. I would say that's one of our areas of success. I think this is obviously my own personal view. Looking at Johnson Matthey, we have success at what we call the GMC, the General Management Committee, and we have success at the junior end. But I would say we have a gap in the middle, and that's an area that we're looking at addressing.
Okay, thank you very much. No more questions have come in, so thank you very much, Helen. We will move on. And it's now time for our final finalist of the day, representing WSP. It's the IChemE 2020 Young Industrialist Award winner. Please welcome Heather Williams.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. I am hoping everyone can see that. Right, so thank you very much for all the presentations and actually in helping us share our knowledge, particularly within the realms of diversity. I think I heard a brief introduction. Yes, my name's Heather Williams. Very recently and quite delightingly, I am the Young Industrialist for the IChemE Global Awards 2020. But I'm also a process engineer working for WSP. And in this context, I'm actually the gender balance lead for the water, energy and industry part of WSP. So for those that don't know WSP, we are a leading professional service firm with over 7,000 employees in the UK. We are technical experts, strategic advisors and construction management professionals. We work within a number of different industries, one of which being water, energy and industry, but also within construction, within rail. I mean, the list is endless. But I'm here to talk about our diversity and inclusion side, mostly actually looking towards our group called PLEDGE. So it's just promoting leadership, encouraging diversity and gender equality. So Pledge sits amongst a plethora of different groups within WSP, particularly looking at gender equality and within the inclusion scene. One of the things that we have an overarching group, similar to actually from JM, where we have it sort of led from the top with a D&I, so diversity and inclusion group, and a steering group, and then we have a levels down, which then feeds it through. And Pledge actually sits similar to the last presentation as a group run by WSP members, as a very much a community to help and work sort of bottom up. But in terms of the overall strategy for WSP, we have both diversity and inclusion targets. So the slide you have in front of you is actually for the Gender Balance Action Group, which actually have bi-yearly roadmaps in order to actually promote the gender equality and make sure that all of our targets and activities are in keeping with what's going on in the world, and allow us to be a bit more flexible and be able to adjust to things going on. So yeah, the overarching group is the EDI steering group. So this is the inclusion diversity group, and they work alongside all of the individual groups, of which Pledge is one, which I'll get onto, in order to make sure that we have that cohesive conversation and the actual information flows the whole way through, so that it doesn't hit a ceiling, that there is management input but also individuals' inputs in order to develop this culture and develop a community within WSP. So, Pledge. As I've said, it's promoting leadership, encouraging diversity and gender equality. And it's that network. It's sponsored actually by the CEO of WSP UK, Mark Naismith, and it's bringing all of the people together so that we can have conversations from across the business in order to talk about what we're up to and able to see path and future processes for individuals, but also to celebrate what people are up to and actually make it a community and allowing us to collaborate together to build WSP for the future. So the way we do this, we do a number of different skill sharing opportunities, whether that's face-to-face, as with the picture, or online. Actually, the one in front of you there is from a young rail presentation in order to celebrate some of our early career professionals within the rail industry. We have a number of different webinar series which just allows people to show what they're doing across the business, to share what's going on, but ultimately to celebrate their achievements and celebrate what we are doing in order to build and a bit more of the sort of networking and side of the work that everybody does. It's important to have those places and have those discussion groups so that we have open and honest conversations about what's going on in the business and allow us to address anything that's going on. Pledge it's very much a fun thing to be involved with. It's pretty much bringing the smiles back to some of the quite hard questions that we all have to deal with within industry and within engineering, whether that's diversity, whether that's looking at gender equality, or generally looking at the world around us and trying to answer some of those fairly impossible questions. By having the network of Pledge, it allows people to share, to smile, to have a bit of a laugh, but ultimately come to some sort of solutions in order to drive it forwards. So Pledge is all about supporting, and so here are just a number of sort of snapshots of what people have been up to, but ultimately it's using a platform to support, to show people what others are doing, and also to show that there is a pathway and a succession, so that if you want to do it, here's somebody that's also doing it, here's the way forward, and just allowing people to be supported so that we can get the best out of everybody going forwards. Part of one of the things that Pledge does is we also work with early career professionals and our apprentices. So WSP on average take about 100 to 200 graduates a year, which is a huge force, and obviously they need support. And so both Pledge and other groups within WSP actually use it as an inspiring space so that the apprentices and the early careers have that sort of community to join as much as anything. And we also work with other organisations and other cases in order to showcase the diversity of WSP, whether that's International Women's Day, which we always take an active role in, but also other schemes across the industries. Part of Pledge is actually listening to the average WSP employer. So where we have the open forums, we also listen and we also take on board and use that to feed into the steering group and higher levels within the diversity pyramid, in order to actually promote policies and make it a bit more of a balanced workforce. So the one is all about the policy we did as part of one of Pledge industry. Then
Sorry to interrupt, Heather. I think we're losing your signal. You went very difficult to hear for a few moments, and now we've lost you altogether. May just be worth.
Can you hear me now?
That's much better. Yes.
Okay.
Perhaps if you could just take a step back on that last slide. We've already lost about 15, 20 seconds or so. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, so well, sorry about that one. I guess this slide was all about the sort of policies that WSP have and the way that we're using the Pledge network in order to just make sure that people in the industry and people within WSP know that that's what we're doing. It's all fair to have all these wonderful things in place, but if people don't know about them, then what's the use? So particularly looking at our policy around shared annual leave, it just Pledge just gives the additional support and allows that two-way conversation so that people know that if there is something there, that if it is useful for them, they can use it, and it will help them in their careers. So in order to sort of, I don't know, put a happy spin of it, actually WSP have had a huge number of successes within the world of promoting role models across the industry. We've actually also achieved an accreditation within the world, within the Engineering Council for Diversity. We've got level 2, which is great. And we keep getting continuous success within the European Women in Construction and Engineering Awards, and have countless finalists across the last 5 years, which is wonderful and really needs to be celebrated. So I know this presentation has been primarily based on Pledge, but within WSP there are other groups doing very, very good and amazing work within the world of diversity and supporting our professionals. Particularly looking at VIBE, which is to celebrate our lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender colleagues. We have the PGN, which is the Professional Growth Network, which is primarily early careers, but they also do a lot of external network support, working with STEM and doing a number of STEM activities within the industry. And just as a final finish, I really do just want to thank everybody within WSP who have worked really hard on promoting Pledge and the other groups, and actually working all together in order to build what I believe is a great place to work. And it really is. It's a lovely community, and we are continually trying to make sure that it's inclusive for everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. So for the final time today, we pause for questions. So if you have a question, please type it into the questions box. We'll just pause to give you a chance to do that. And while we do that, I'd like to thank our volunteer judging panel, led by Head Judge Keith Batchelor. The judges work tirelessly to review and score every entry we receive across our awards programme. You can read more about our judging panel on the IChemE Global Awards web pages. So first question, what metric is used to gauge the success of Pledge?
So often we're looking at those that are engaging with the individual events. So those that turn up for the webinars, those that actively participate in all the things that are going on. And we use that as the metric of actually our success, and also how we can lead up into the other groups. So where we have had particularly active people who are really enthusiastic, being able to feed it back into the various steering groups and gender balance action groups, we've seen that as a huge success, and it really works in order to keep it all going.
Okay, thank you. Pledge seems to be well established and is successful. Do you have any tips for any groups which have been formed more recently?
So Pledge is actually relatively new. It's only been up and running within WSP for the last 2 years. So it is still up and running and still new. I wouldn't necessarily say it's well established, but it has been taken on with a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, I think it's helped that we've had backing from Mark Naismith, so that's the CEO of WSP UK, and that really has helped to keep the momentum going. I think when it comes to all these kinds of groups, it comes down to the individuals leading it, and if they are enthusiastic and if they are willing to go for it, then the group will be successful.
Thanks, and that takes us in nicely to our next question. Does WSP have a diverse senior leadership team?
So WSP is a very wide organisation, and it depends on which industry you're looking at, I think is the honest answer. Yes, within the strategic business group that I sit in, we do. that's water, energy and industry. However, there is still a little bit of work to be done in other areas of the business. But it all starts with having that supportive network and actually showing and celebrating what people are doing, so that those coming through and the pipeline coming through can actually see it and believe that they will be the next leaders.
Okay, thank you, Heather. We are out of time for questions, so thank you for that presentation. And once again, we have reached the point which everybody's been waiting for. It's time to announce the award winner. Before I do that, I want to thank all of our finalists across both categories for giving up their time to be with us today and present on their work. I'm sure you'll agree, plenty of really good work going on in all sorts of different places, in all different sorts of areas. So first, we have our highly commended entries, and they are the entries from Johnson Matthey and Saudi Aramco. So well done to everybody associated with those entries. But now for the winner. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the IChemE 2020 Diversity and Inclusion Award, sponsored by the chemical engineer, is WSP. So well done, Heather and the WSP team. This winning is becoming a bit of a habit for you, Heather. 2 awards in 2 weeks. How does it feel to be an award winner again?
Well, it's great. However, I don't feel like this one's my award. There is a lot of hard work that happens within WSP, and I'm very grateful that they will be able to share this and actually use it as a great way of saying, yes, all their hard work is working, and we will continue to help the community and hopefully build a much more inclusive environment.
And is there anyone in particular you'd like to thank at this point?
I don't think that there's any one particular individual. To be honest, when it comes to particularly these group awards, all I can say is it's been a group effort, and everybody deserves this win, not just one.
Okay, well, thank you, Heather, and well done once again to WSP, winner of the IChemE 2020 Diversity and Inclusion Award. That wraps up today's webinar. There's still plenty more to come. So if you've enjoyed today's session, why not register for some of our other award webinars? They're all free to attend, open to all. We're back this afternoon, actually, with the IChemE Energy Award, and tomorrow with the Innovative Product Award. So plenty more to come. But for now, that's the end of today's session. And congratulations then to the University of Strathclyde and WSP.